All right, Rossi, I'm not sure if everyone had Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes versus Logan Paul and John Cena on the John Cena farewell bingo card, but with Saturday night's main event angle and the SmackDown angle, what is your thoughts heading in to this match here at Money in the Bank?
I mean, I definitely understand why they're doing it. I think it's kind of a good way to reintroduce Cody into the Cenaverse. Like, obviously, he never really left it, but he was off TV for a bit, and I think it's nice on Money in the Bank in particular to have both of the champions in the same match, because somebody's going to be left laying, right? So it kind of gives you that tease of, if this is truly the main event, hey, there might be a cash in on night one, and honestly, maybe there will be. It's very possible, I think. Although with the match being, for Jay the next night on Raw, maybe not as likely. But I think it's a cool spot for Logan. I think it kind of, see if everything that we've seen from Cena, like the PLE matches haven't been bad, but he definitely isn't the John Cena we're used to seeing in there. So this is, I think, a good opportunity for them to have a fun match without having to lean on Cena to do too much physically,
When I did the Jey Uso versus Logan Paul Saturday Night Main Event preview, I said I'm starting to feel like Logan Paul as a everyday wrestler isn't as special as Logan Paul the celebrity wrestler. Not that he's not as good, but he's just not as interesting. I don't know. I feel like he needs something. So I hope this is kind of the last of the current modern iteration of Logan Paul here. And what's up with him and Cena? Is there anything to play into that, or is that just kind of playing into Cena's starting to realize who he wants to be towards as
the first thing that I
year?
thought of is something happens between the two that they lose the match on, and that's the match in Saudi.
Does anyone ever want to see that though? And
that's the thing.
Yeah. And is that turning John Cena face? Like they're not gonna
Yeah, I guess with Saudi it really doesn't matter. But it's a way that, then he can, I don't know, that might be their attempt to get Logan baby. But
he's not even close.
I know, but they might. I don't put anything past them right now. But
yeah,
I mean, Saudi, you want to get eyeballs on it, you put the YouTuber on there. That might be a good way to do it.
All right. So is Cody versus Cena too quick for Saudi? Is that what you're saying? Or
I think SummerSlam.
Well, that might play into my Money in the Bank thing. We'll see, because we're obviously recording this before Monday Night Raw, so that might play into a factor too. Perhaps while it's on the subject here, I think we get any type of stipulation on Monday Night Raw for this match, or this just doesn't need it.
No, I mean, with a tag match, it'd be tough. I mean, I guess they could do no DQ, but I don't know. I think that they're going to be fine with this as is.
I agree. I don't think they need one, but if they did, you never know, right? We're kind of all over the place, Mike, but this is this match. It's not really that sexy. You got 4 big stars, of course, 2 mega stars in Cena and Cody, but I don't know. It's still got that bad taste in your mouth of WrestleMania. Cena has 2 matches since WrestleMania, one being a very good match at Backlash versus Randy Orton, and then the R-Truth farewell match at Saturday Night's Main Event, and it kind of is what it was. But I don't know. I think Cena maybe perhaps wash some of the stink off of him, but still it's a little bit lingering, especially now that Cody Rhodes appears. It's only going to bring up that linger, right?
Yeah, and I also think it's a good match for Jay, because Cody will do the bulk of the work, and he can kind of just do what really makes him look his best. I think he'll be in a lot of the shiny spots in this match. So I think it'll end up helping him long term, and I think he's losing the title soon. So I don't think that it's a bad spot to make him look good either,
Yeah, we can do it the de facto Jey Uso versus Gunther preview too. Do you think he loses the match there a week from today, or
I think he beats Gunther and Rollins cashes in
that night?
Yeah, that's my lean. Yeah.
And then they would have a rematch, even if they would call for it or whatever. I don't know. Or
yeah.
He'd go away and go on vacation to SummerSlam or something. Interesting.
Yeah, maybe Gunther destroys him again after he loses to him. And then, when Uso comes, I know we don't want to see probably more Gunther matches, but it gives Gunther something to do. And then Uso comes back and they do a big stip match.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm ready to see Gunther lose 3 times to Jey Uso.
I know. It's definitely, there's ways to go. I mean, you could have Gunther win too, but I don't know. It all depends. Who's going to win Money in the Bank? If you have like an LA Knight win, then maybe they do go Gunther, because I don't think LA Knight's going to cash in the Cena verse of it all, and he could cash in and turn heel on Jey too. So there's ways that they could go with this. I can't get my mind off anything but Rollins winning the match at this point. So
Yeah. I wouldn't mind like Rollins like cashing in and there's no loss to Gunther, kind of like WrestleMania 31 style, where he kind of just
right,
comes in, cashes in, and then Brock Lesnar never takes the loss. Gunther would never take the loss. So in that scenario, I don't mind that. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't think Gunther is going to beat Jey. That just doesn't feel right timing wise, but
no,
I don't think Jey is champion past SummerSlam, honestly. And I think that's good for him because he's done a really good job 10 weeks out or whatever. And it's, a lot of people were skeptical, and he had 2 excellent matches. He had a pretty good match at Saturday night's main event, and the crowd has never really lost interest like they lost with Kofi, like they lost with Ray, similar type
right.
champions. So it's definitely a success. And if he were to lose, we'd be yearning for another one, right? So I think it's not a bad idea to take it off him early.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that they, something that even like the Logan side of it, like, they're continuing to keep these guys together for more than just this match too. So maybe he does something to fuck with them again. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways they can go, and that's what makes this match kind of fun. Is like you go into this match obviously probably expecting the babyface team to win because Logan's in the match. He's probably the easiest one to eat the shit here. But just the fact that you've got the 2 champions with the Money in the Bank in hand gives you a lot to think about going into this show.
Yeah, you brought up Logan. Do you share any of the sentiment that I had earlier on about him not feeling as special as he was now that he's like kind of an everyday wrestler opposed to the celebrity wrestler?
Yeah, I think he's a little bit out of his comfort zone too. Like when he was having the matches like with, AJ and Rollins, like he kind of was going in there as like, working with big work rate guys. And even though the AJ match wasn't great, like the build was kind of comfortable for him, right? The story was there. The stuff with Jay's always seemed forced, it kind of just felt like they wanted to put it together, but they built it pretty well. It just kept knocking out Jay though. And it was like, it's kind of flat. Like obviously he's not going to win the title. So they're just making him, shined up here. So I don't know. I just feel like he's kind of punching above his level right now. I still think he'd be better off in that mid card. And it goes back to me wishing that his Mania match, in February was Penta, because I just felt like that kind of would have been more of like his vibe, where we may not have had him, kind of feel over pushed to us,
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. I wouldn't mind seeing that match now, though, right?
Right.
I don't know, I feel like he needs like a stable around him. He needs like a swipe right, not them obviously, but a tag team or some guys, some flunkies, lackeys, like a Waller in a Theory, even, right? Those guys. I think he just needs company around him. I don't think he's interesting enough, and I don't think he's magnetic enough now that we see him all the time. I'm a little, not that I'm worried about him, but I'm just disinterested in him, and I don't like that. I think that
Right.
he's someone that I thought that would always be all right and interesting, but he's just kind of not. He's lingering and boring.
I mean, do you think they do something with Halliburton and him to kind of go back to the MSG
They
shit from
did,
last
right?
year?
They
Yeah.
did, right? Yeah.
They
Perhaps.
walked off together while Brunson was with LA Knight. So,
Never know. They're gonna
and
do something.
they keep selling Halliburton shit. I feel like that's something Fanatics would push,
Yeah, well, that's interesting. All right, so we talked Jay, we talked Logan, Cena. Do you share the sentiment that it's overall disappointing 6 months in, 5 months in, whatever we're at?
Yeah, I mean, disappointing is not a bad way to call it, but I also feel like we're kind of set up for failure with how they did it. Like it was such a cool turn
Yeah.
and then the Rock's not been around. You know what I mean? If the Rock was here and there was more of a like meat to the bone and there was more of like that threat of Cena looking invincible because he's got all this protection behind him, that is where I feel like it would be a little bit more interesting. And that kind of would hide some of Cena's flaws a little bit more. I've liked Cena on the mic. I've liked the way that he's built
I'd
his
like that.
matches.
Yeah.
But it's just the matches there's a level they can get to, and I feel like that Orton one is kind of like a peak of it, right? I do think like there's obviously good matches for Cena that are still out there. It was introduced to us as something it was not turned out to be, And I feel like that's where it gets a little disappointing, you know? But I feel like his work has been about as much as you can ask of him at this point. And probably more interesting than his babyface stuff would have been if they went right out of the gates with that, you know?
Well, I just look at it from this way, right? Roman Reigns was champion, then it ping-ponged to Cody Rhodes. So we've had great champions for the last 5 years. And then now that title goes to Cena. He's been a fine champion, but he's not at that level. And right, just because from an in-ring standpoint, he is so limited to a point because he's 50 years old. And then I do like some of the talking segments, but it's all the same, right? Which is
Right.
fine, but it's boring and to an extent too, in a way. That's why it's disappointing. It just feels like it should be so much more, but the ceiling's so high. If you want to be a top 5 Mount Rushmore guy, yeah, people say Stone Cold's heel turn was disappointing, but it wasn't if you watched it because he was extremely entertaining and
Right.
he still had the great matches. Hogan, heel turn was all time babyface, all time heel. That's the measuring stick. If Cena wants to float on that level, I expect more. That's just where it's at, right? If Cena's a top 5, top 10 WWE guy of all time on anyone's list, he is.
Right.
If I just expected more, that's all it is.
And like my biggest thing with Cena is, you know, you have the equity with him of however many years he's been around. Ultimately, if he's going to tell this story, that's I'm leaving with the title, he almost shouldn't lose it until November. You know, maybe not the last show, but no, because it's in Boston, he's going to get cheered anyways. But like November, right? If he just loses it to a Cody at like a SummerSlam or shortly thereafter, it's like, all right, now it feels even more pointless, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there's more that they can go to here. I mean, maybe we get Travis Scott back with this match. I mean, we all expect him to be involved in some way, and it's in LA. Is Rock returning here completely impossible?
All right, that would be, but there's no. I guess you don't really need stakes, right? The stakes was Cody's turning, like getting Cody's attention. So I guess you could, right? Cody returns now. Boom, The Rock. Yeah, I could see. I wouldn't rule that out, Mike. Travis Scott thing. So all right, as of right now, we do not have him. Perhaps we have an angle tomorrow that adds him, but I don't think so. I think we would have kind of got it already. Why didn't we get him? Who scrapped it? He scrapped it. WWE scrapped it. Not Booker T scrapped it, but Booker T's training him, saying, I don't know if he's ready. Like the pushback from the main event. Why aren't we getting this?
I don't know. I feel like that they definitely felt the pushback from him being kind of. I mean, I really don't think he was forced down our throat as much as it was he was held at such a high accord with how he was used at Mania
Yeah.
that, you know, people were just rebelling against it. So, but maybe if he comes out as a surprise here, is that just as bad, or is that, or if you announce him ahead of time, maybe it wouldn't have felt as bad, and maybe you would have gotten a little bit more behind him as an outsider, like, oh well, he's going to try to give us a match, like at least he's doing that, right? So it's weird. It's definitely strange because there was plenty of reputable wrestling reporters that were like, you know, he's going to be at Money in the Bank. He's involved in Money in the Bank. And I don't think that a guy like Travis Scott, you just say, hey, you're not going to be on the show now. Like that, to me, that's weird. Just because fans, I mean, he still does a lot of cool shit for them. Like he had his own like merch line that they did pretty well with. He did like the different Tops cards that were like his Cactus Jack line. There's stuff that they can do with him. They just have to present it right if he's going to be involved in something. And if they hold it and he just comes out as a surprise and tries to help Cena, I feel like that's going to be worse than if they announce it in advance, you know? Even if they just announce, you know, cornered by Travis Scott, right?
Yeah. His initial debut was at the Intuit Dome on Netflix, right? So
Right. With Jey Uso.
with Jey Uso. So there could be a little bit to it there. I don't know. Here's the thing. At WrestleMania, him being the main focus of the group outside of John Cena just doesn't work for me, brother. Him being
Right.
Elimination Chamber being the third celebrity guy. Oh, that's fucking awesome. It's cool.
Yeah.
That's like making it work. So it does fall on The Rock and creative to really put him out there. And for them, the big backlash of all that, whatever. I don't know if I want to see him. I maybe just to kind of go full circle and
Right.
end on a bright note, perhaps. But
Can like my thing, right, is The Rock will re-involve himself when he feels like he can come in and look like Superman, right? And I don't want to say like there's a lot of ill will around WWE right now. Like I think the Truth firing or not firing, but deciding not to renew
And Carlito.
I feel like that kind of that broke some hearts. I think, and I don't think Saturday Night's Main Event was a particularly great show. I think Backlash was fine, right? Like we talked
Backlash was
about
fine.
it.
Yeah.
And I think that their TV's been okay. Like they've had some high end moments. There's been some things on SmackDown that have been great the last month or so. Raw's gonna piece together a good segment or two, a match or two every week as well. But I feel like he can like justify to himself now that they need him. When at Mania they didn't, he couldn't justify that. So I think he would have been more. Rock would have been more expected there, so he might not have gotten the reaction that he would have liked. Where now, if he comes in, out of the blue without anybody expecting it, it looks like he's kind of doing, "Oh, I'm here to save the show again," and that just kind of feels like it's more up his alley.
Yeah, that's more of his MO for sure. All right, let's talk Cody here. I never really bought into Cody getting boos at WrestleMania. It was the smart crowd, the night before WrestleMania crowd, the night after WrestleMania crowd. We've been in that crowd. We are those people. Like
Right.
he was in overseas, 0.0% chance people were booing him. Go home. Like he was never really ever getting booed. So for the people to be like, oh, they're putting him in with Jey Uso, so he gets cheered. They're putting him against Logan Paul, who is the biggest heel. They're putting him against John. Like, this is all to make sure Cody never gets booed. That's like a narrative that doesn't exist. Like,
Right.
am I true, or am I just like calling these guys out for their lies and bullshit and whatever narrative they're trying to spew towards Cody?
No, I completely agree. I mean, I think that we didn't hear shit until the night before Mania. And then even the Raw stuff, and it's the crowd wanted to see Cena. They were preparing themselves for Cena winning that title, so it was pretty much a split crowd. You're not getting that everywhere else. Cena's getting booed everywhere, right? I mean, and I don't really think that this LA show is going to be a smart crowd. So I don't think there's anything to worry about there. SummerSlam would be, I think, being up in New York.
New York, yeah.
And I think that's going to become more of like a destination show for people because it's, East Coast versus West Coast for Mania. I don't know. I just think at the end of the day, it's Cody fucking Rhodes. Like the guy, there's maybe Karrion Kross is a more popular t-shirt right now, which is absurd. But there's still Cody. I mean, if you take the amount of items that Cody sells on Fanatics versus everybody else, it's night and day. Like Cena might be right there with him now too, or maybe even Jay. But the guy's got merch with his dog on it. The guy's got like Punk does. It's a machine, right? So a guy like him, he's smart to it. If the boos come back, he'll try to come up with a turning heel story for himself too. And when that ends up happening, he's going to crush it because it's been so long. But to watch the pops he gets, Saturday Night's Main Event, SmackDown this past week, he's fine. Like he's still their top baby face, and that's not going to change anytime soon unless they decide to.
Yeah, I was never worried about it. It's just listening to the echoes of all that is kind of a little ridiculous. All right, last question here before we get out of here. When do we see Cody Cena 1-on-1 2?
I think it's I still think it's SummerSlam, whether he wins or loses to him. I don't want Cena to lose to Cody. I want to make that abundantly clear. I think, like I said earlier, it makes the whole thing kind of feel like a useless change of events, right? I want him to lose to somebody else, and obviously Punk's in the back of my mind, but there's so many other ways they can do it that I'm not even really there with it yet. But I think that match, 2-night SummerSlam, the first one, they got to roll at the red carpet for their biggest possible matches. And while Cena Punk is probably right on the same level, I think they look at it and they say, our show is better if we just keep these two guys intertwined, Cody Cena, and then, whatever Punk's doing or, whatever the Rollins story is the other night. So I think you truly keep these two together at least through SummerSlam, and then, he either beats him there or Cena continues on the run and starts feuding with the Punks of the world from there.
I wouldn't rule out Night of Champions as a return match. I think that they could pump that to Saudi as a WrestleMania main event and make them extremely happy, right? And I feel that you're kind of getting past it. It's like it's presented in your face now, and Cena's on the poster, and there's nothing really spoken about that match. This is a blimp to kind of have a fun tag in LA, and I think we can just get right to it. And I'm not sure what the result is. Cody's kind of the king of Saudi, so I wouldn't rule that out.
When Cody loses, when Cody faces Cena, and if he does lose, it should be because somebody else costs him to be Cody's next feud.
I figured Drew, but if
That's
he's out,
that's in the back of my head,
yeah.
and I think that's part of the let's get him off TV so when he comes back and does it, it's a bigger surprise.
All right, Rossi, we're here. Shooting Sharp coming out tomorrow morning. Check it out. I'm sure you'll have more. Fill us in if anything happens on Raw that we did not cover here, and I'm sure you'll be giving us a full Money in the Bank preview. But before I give it to you tomorrow or tonight on YouTube, 7 p.m., I'm going to do a Raw, SmackDown, Money in the Bank, kind of what's going on with the Probably Wrong guys on YouTube Live, Facebook Live. So check out the channel for that.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to do like a full breakdown of everybody that said Money in the Bank because I should have all that info before I record that. And it'll be like, how many Money in the Banks they've been in, and I'll give you guys the stats with it. So we'll have some fun with it. I want to preview it in a way that, it's early enough in the week that it's not going to be like too advanced. So we'll have a little bit of fun with it. And, we'll be talking again soon.
Cool, man. All right, guys. See you tomorrow or see you tonight. Thanks, Rossi.
Later.